So let us get to it. This is full spoilers, all spoilers. Let's get that out of the way. Parker Posey. Interesting. Well, did I enjoy that scene? Yes, it was really great. It was really hilarious and funny, and you can't lie. Yeah, that was a big moment of triumph. Of course, it's very sexual and erotic. She's a beautiful woman. But I do think there was a point to it. A lot of people were confused with that. Like, wait, she's dead? Yes, I think they gave you enough clues that paradox is if Beau had sex, he was afraid he'd die, but he doesn't die. But his lover dies, so it's kind of like a tragic irony. For what it was balanced. It wasn't cruel to Parker Posey. It was a fun scene, and the music was pretty perfect. Unfortunately, I think that's the rare scene. I think Beau has a couple of great scenes like that, where he's in the apartment, he's with the phone, or he's running through the street, which was spoiled in the trailer, or things like that. I'll give another example, like the convenience store when he has to rush in to get the water, because if he doesn't get the water, he could die, and just the way he interacts and gives the credit card and it's like, oh, the credit card isn't good. Again, hilarious moment. This film has really great moments, really great scenes. The problem is the in-between moments or the building up to those great scenes was, to me, a little too safe. It could have been more interesting, more kinetic, more exciting. And some of these tricks have been played before. I'm well aware of them. I'm trying to become a filmmaker myself. I know you can do these things. It wasn't that interesting. So, for instance, when there's that guy at the edge of the frame doing that weird kung fu martial arts and looking like an idiot and just being really fat and stupid. Okay, it's funny. It's funny, but kind of a cheap trick. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We should be focused on Joaquin, but we're looking at this weird stuff on the edge of the frame. And I'm like, all right, I get it. But again, sometimes I do think Ari is being more conventional. It's still funny, like with that girl in the paint and the way she's trying to force Joaquin to paint stuff. And he's like, no, I'm not going to paint it. And then, I don't want to say commit suicide, but the thing with the paint. It's like, okay, these individual moments are funny. They're very ironic. Performances are pretty strong. And I keep saying Joaquin because really we're not looking at a fictional character. There's not much to this character. This is just anxiety personified. Beau doesn't exist really as a character. It's just Joaquin walking around. And even at one point a character says, you're being recorded. And you're like, yeah, of course you're being recorded. This is on film. Yeah, you get the joke pretty quickly that the film is aware it's a film. The characters are kind of aware this is a performance. But I think we're left with, if, on my theory, Beau is guilty. Beau is not an innocent person. Beau is not a good person. Okay, that's fine. I have no issue with, quote, subversion of expectation or whatever. Okay, so we followed the guy. We thought the guy was good, but no, it's not good. Maybe the mother was justified in being angry. We're still left with a lot of questions. Did anything really happen? Is the mother really interested in justice? Or is she interested in revenge? I don't think we quite know. I do think the commentary on the politics of it is really interesting. I mean, I think Ari is trying to say, we have this weird society now where, yes, we have trials and we have procedure, but really it's completely pointless, right? Whether it's with the police and citizens or politicians or even how dictators, we put people on trial, but they're not real trials. Logic, evidence, none of that matters. We just want the person dead or convicted, or we want these dramas, but they don't mean anything. It's all about who has the power. And so the commentary was really interesting, and I do think, as some people are saying, and again, I want to be careful, it's not with a capital F, but I do think this is a kind of feminist film, but it's not saying women are all good or all nice. I think we get pretty clearly a lot of women are horrible, but I do think he is trying to make this commentary on, quote, toxic masculinity, but in a very clever way. And I appreciated that. I don't mind political commentary or even the artistic style. It just seems this had a couple of great scenes, but the structure overall was weaker than it should have been. It felt to me like he could have tried to make the structure stronger, but for whatever reason he was satisfied with the structure, and it just seemed the in-between moments or in-between scenes were a little bit weaker. I will give the film this. I did not predict anything here. This is a film. You cannot predict what will happen, and I think the discussions will be really interesting because virtually any interpretation will go. So I do recommend Beau. I did like it a lot. I especially liked it when basically Ari is mocking himself in his own film. Some are in Hereditary. I appreciated that. So he's not taking himself too seriously, but I did feel that overall the structure of the script needed a lot more work. I think it's a little too smug and self-indulgent, but did I have a good time? Yes. Is this a great film? No. Is it a solid film? I think for European cinema, yeah, it's a solid film, but there have been people who've done this better, like Stanley Kubrick or David Lynch. This is not a David Lynch film, but it's in the vicinity, so it's a weak David Lynch film, which is something I can appreciate, but it could have been a much better David Lynch film, in my opinion.